All right, everybody. Welcome to the March 11th BAP meeting. We have a few less announcements than we did last time, but we still have several things to cover before I introduce our speaker for this evening. So first and foremost, we will be having VITA tonight. So if you can and you have been trained for VITA, stick around after the meeting and we will be doing some sort of breakout rooms, whether it be in Zoom or Teams, and we'll be partnering people up to be getting familiar with the different platforms we'll be using for VITA. And so tonight will be our first round of tax returns for the season. So it's pretty exciting time. So if you can, like I said, stick around for that. Next, we also have another community service project that we've got going on right now. So we're going to be doing the nursing home letters again. If you didn't participate in the fall, we're going to be doing letters that you write, just introducing yourself to a nursing home resident. We have a Wayne County Nursing and Rehabilitation Center in Wayne, West Virginia, that we're going to be donating the letters to for the residents to read. Most of them are trapped in quarantine, unable to leave the facility. So, and they also have limited visitors depending on the cases in the area. So they've not been having the opportunity to have visitors and contact with the outside world, which can make them a bit depressed. So this is just a way to brighten up their season. Although we're coming into spring, so it's a lot more uplifting a time listening to spring peepers and whatnot. But still, we're going to do that. And those letters are due by April 1st. So try to get those into me. We're going to be doing it via email this time instead of through the mail postal service. That was a bit slow last time, so we're hoping to speed up the process a bit by just sending them via email. And if you need my email, just let me know after the meeting and I can put it in the chat or something so you guys can get those in. Also, officer positions, we're still having some vacancies in that area. Later, we're going to be posting some descriptions, probably via the email list of the officers that we still have vacancies for, and some descriptions, some duties, that type of thing. That way you can get familiar with the openings and see if you might be interested in a few of them. And then also, if you are graduating in May, let me know. Beta Alpha Psi provides you a graduation stole for your graduation. So I need to know how many seniors are graduating. I think the majority of you have already reached out to me, but just to be sure I got everybody, just in case, reach out to me, say, hey, I'm graduating this May. That's really all I need to know. So I can get that list compiled for the stole purchases. And that completes the announcements I have on my list here. So without further ado, we have Lloyd here from the FDIC, and I'm sure that's going to be an exciting meeting. It's always one of you guys' favorites. So without further ado, welcome.
Okay. Can you hear me, Ashley?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for having me. My name is Lloyd McIntyre. I am, in my regular job, I'm a supervisory examiner, and I run the West Virginia office of the FDIC, which is the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. I'm currently working in our international division in Washington, which fortunately I can do that all from home, but it's kind of interesting. I've been with the FDIC for 28 years now. And I've had the opportunity now, just started a few weeks ago, to spend a year working in our international division. So I'm working on developing some training programs that are going to be used across the globe for countries that are starting to develop what the FDIC has had since 1933. So we were one of the first deposit insurance systems ever created in the world. And there's a lot of countries that still have banking systems that are growing, that are trying to develop these supervisory functions. So the FDIC does a lot of work to help other countries create good, strong financial systems. So it's kind of a new thing for me after supervising this office for the last 20 years, but I'm also a corporate recruiter. So it's a good chance for me to come out and speak to you all as students that are looking for internships and are looking for permanent jobs. We have a very robust young office in West Virginia, but we also have 80 offices around the country. So we are hiring every year about 150 students. We also hire about 75 to 100 interns all over the country. So there's a lot of great opportunities with the FDIC. So like I said, the FDIC is a federal banking agency. We are responsible for providing deposit insurance to all the banks in the country. And part of our mandate is to make sure that the financial system of this country is safe and sound. The way we do that is we have examiners go into those banks and assess the credit quality of the institution. They assess how much money they're making, whether they have enough capital to support the risk profile they have. So we really, we would look at all facets of a bank, from operations, from financials, credit quality, information technology. Do they have an effective cybersecurity program? Are they protecting the bank against money laundering and terrorist financing? So there's a lot of different things that you have to know when you go into an institution. The way we do that is we hire new people coming out of college to become federal bank examiners. And we have about a 3-year training program that you go through, and you take everything you learned in college, the finance, the economics, the accounting, and you then start applying that to how to supervise a bank. And we teach you during that 3-year process how to do that. Like I said, we bring most people coming out with a bachelor's degree, either accounting, economics, finance, anything in the business field. I've really been focusing a lot on management information systems, if you kind of have that background, because not every person who's an accountant likes to look at a bank's cybersecurity profile or their information systems. So people in the MIS space kind of like to look at both those things. So that's an area where there's a lot of opportunity to develop and get promoted in the FDIC. Usually our positions, when you come in, you're making about $55,000 to $60,000 a year. Our program is non-competitive. So over that 3-year process, you're going to get promotions as you hit the benchmarks yourself. So everybody that comes on with you is kind of working in a cohort, similar to what you might do in a class, where you're located all over the country, but you get training together. Sometimes you go to Washington, D.C. for training. You have coaches in your field office that teach you what you need to know. And then you're going to eventually get up to the point after 3 years where you become a commissioned bank examiner and you can actually lead a team into a bank yourself. But it is a non-competitive program. You're going to run starting out about $55,000 to $60,000. After 3 years, you're going to be up in the $75,000 to $80,000 range. Most of the people I see do very well. They get promoted pretty quickly. So in the 7 to 8 year range, usually for most of you, that may be when you're about 28, 29, 30, you're probably going to be making around 90 to 95, maybe even 100,000 if you're in a high cost area like Chicago or New York City. So a lot of opportunities that basically over the next 10 years, you can see yourself really growing with the job. Once you get out of the training program, there's a tremendous amount of opportunities in the FDIC. Just today, well, for your all's information, so Marshall University last year ranked like 8th in the country of universities that FDIC recruits from. So I've hired a lot of people from Marshall, and they've been very successful. So just today, one of my Marshall graduates told me that he just got a temporary promotion to a supervisory examiner like myself. He's going to be a temporary manager for a year in Lexington, Kentucky. Another former Marshall graduate just emailed me and said she just got a temporary examiner, senior examiner position in Sacramento, California. And she had already was coming off of a temporary promotion in Pittsburgh. Again, everything we've been doing this year is virtual. So there's so many opportunities in the FDIC where you can get promotions and get development, but not have to leave where you are. And even our interns last year did all their internship virtually. So just in the last literally 5 hours, I found out 2 of my former Marshall graduates both got temporary promotions. So that's pretty cool to see them doing really well. But like I said, we have internships for sophomores and juniors, and then we have permanent positions. We have one on the board right now, and I'm going to send everybody my email in the chat. So you can either send me your resume and I will send you the link to that position, or you can tell Ashlee that you want to be included in a mass email, and Ashlee can send me all of your emails. I've had BAP officers in the past that have just emailed me everybody's contact information. I put you in my email mail group, and then anytime that there's a posting that comes open, I let you know about it. So I have students from WVU, from Virginia Tech, from Radford, Gwinnett College in Georgia, Fayetteville State University. Those are all the schools I recruit from. And anytime there's an opportunity throughout the year, I send out an email to let you know about it, because the FDIC is constantly posting positions, not only for our field offices, but also in Washington, D.C., where our executive headquarters is located. So there's just, again, a lot of opportunities to develop here. The one thing I wanted to mention that I heard Ashlee say is having trouble or needing to develop officers in this organization. A lot of students will ask me, what can I do to differentiate myself from others? So most of you you'll have to have at least a 3.0 GPA to apply for a position with us. Most people will have between a 3.2 and a 3.8, 3.9. That's usually kind of where we see GPAs fall. The thing that distinguishes you all from each other is these volunteer organizations you're involved with. It's part-time jobs that you may have. It's any type of work that you're doing outside of your normal schoolwork. What we like to see is people that join an organization and they progress into a leadership role. Because when we interview you, it's a very structured interview process, and we're going to be asking you, how have you demonstrated leadership in school? How have you demonstrated teamwork in your activities? And for you to have a leadership position and to be in charge of a club or to be in charge of a project, it's going to really help you be able to answer those questions and, again, differentiate yourself from other students who may not have gotten involved in things. And so, you may have a 4.0, but you haven't volunteered for anything. You don't have any really perspective on how the corporate world works or banking works, or, just leadership positions. So it may be hard for you to answer those questions versus somebody who maybe doesn't have as strong of a GPA, where it really shows a lot of leadership opportunities or leadership that they've gotten into. So I would really encourage you to think about what Ashlee just mentioned about being an officer in your group. Any type of federal agency is going to have kind of the same criteria that you may be looking for. So that's the kind of opportunities that are going to be out there. Unfortunately, I only have a limited amount of time tonight. I apologize for that. But if anybody has some questions you'd like to throw out there, I have 10 minutes or so. We can talk about some things. So anything that's top of mind, just go ahead and jump in.
So normally, do you work out of the office? Is there like travel involved with the job, or do we stay within West Virginia here?
Yeah, so our office in Scott Depot, it's up outside of Hurricane. We cover the whole state of West Virginia. I would have responded to that question differently exactly 1 year ago, because on March 13th, we went totally virtual and we shut down our office. So we have not really been back to the office in the last year, which meant normally we would go into a bank and we would all sit in a room together, 7 or 8 people. And frankly, they might be coughing, they might be a little sick. We stopped doing all that. So all of our examination work, the banks send us all the information. We have all of our meetings virtually like this, and then we prepare a report of examination, which summarizes our findings, and we send that back to them. So that means what we do once we get out of this time period is going to change a lot. So normally most people would come in the office and work for a little bit as you prepare for an examination. You would go on site to the bank, have meetings with the bankers, get additional information, make your assessment, then you come back to the office and you write your report that goes to the bank and tells them how they're doing. I think that's going to change. So normally we might have been out 80 to 90 nights a year, which is a lot for West Virginia. Atlanta, if you live in Atlanta, all the banks are in kind of an area, you might only be out like 3 weeks out of the year. I think that's going to change, where I think it's going to really be, maybe 40 nights out of the year, which, is maybe 1 week out of the month. So I think it'll change where we'll do more work off site. Maybe we go to the bank for a week and get all that conversation done, and then we come back and wrap it up. And I think there's going to be more opportunities where you won't need to be in the office. You will do things like this, and your team may be virtual, and you may be working all over the state. You'll have to live in the state, but you may not need to come to the office. Maybe you come for, a few days a month just to have some training or interaction with your boss or your other colleagues. But I think that's going to change a lot. Which really makes this job a lot better, because a lot of times we lose people because they get tired of the training. They start to have a family. You don't want to be on the road all the time. Even if you don't have a family, you don't want to be on the road all the time. So that's why I took a manager position 20 years ago, is because I had 2 little kids and I didn't want to be on the road all the time. So, usually as a manager, I'm out, I spend like maybe 30 nights a year out, but that's maybe like I go out for a couple of nights and then I come back. But it's going to be a lot different. That's a great question. Every office is different too, but they're all our goal is to reduce the amount of time that you're traveling.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to take up all your time, but I have
No, if you got another one, hit us with it. It was a good question.
Yeah, do you guys like support getting your CPA? Does it help in any way with your organization?
Yeah, so most people we hire come out with a bachelor's degree. The 3-year training process is really focused on learning everything you wanted to know about being a bank examiner. So it's everything, you're almost getting a master's degree in banking. So the people who don't stay with us, and that's not very many people, most people stay. Once you come on, you got great benefits, you're getting good pay, you got great work-life balance, you don't want to go work at a bank. But if you do go work at a bank, you're really set up well because you understand the risk management function of a bank and you understand how a bank operates. You're not in just one area like lending or in operations. You kind of see the big picture. But after you get that commission, we will pay for you to do a lot of different things. You actually get $2,500 a year to go out and spend on certifications or classes or other things. So we send people to graduate school of banking. We send people to like the Harvard Leadership School. I've seen people pursue their CPA and we help that certification process. I'm a certified fraud examiner. So every year I usually go to a couple of classes to maintain my certification. And they pay for me to maintain that certification. People in information security, they'll get a CISA, a CFA. Some people will pursue that, although we don't really do a lot of financial analysis or recommendations, but people just, they want to get a CFA. So, we do that. If you're interested in a graduate level, like mathematics course or statistics course, we're going to pay for you to get that, particularly if you're working in a large bank that has a lot of data analytics and a lot of modeling, and it's important for you to kind of understand how does all that work behind the scenes. You might want to get some additional education to really understand that. So, like I said, I've been doing this for 28 years, and it's amazing how much you can do that the FDIC will pay for.
Yeah, thank you. That's really interesting.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we got another question from the chat, and it says, how's going virtual changed the speed in which you can examine a bank? Has it stayed close to the same or has it changed?
Actually, it's gotten slower, especially when we first did this because the whole agency had to convert to a totally online function. So sometimes banks cannot provide all the data readily in an electronic format, particularly if you're a small bank, you still use a lot of paper. So in some cases, it's gotten slower. Obviously, if we were at the bank, I could pop in and talk to the president of the bank and say, hey, I have a quick question. You can't really do that virtually. You need to schedule a meeting. You need to, maybe they want to bring in a couple of their people. So it takes more time to set up meetings and have meetings. It takes more time to share information. So it's probably stretched out the average exam. From start to finish, we could usually get an exam done in about 4 weeks. And it's probably stretched it out to another week. So it takes about 5 weeks. But, that's a great question because it kind of goes into what I like is you're always doing something different. You might be on an exam for 5 weeks. You might only be on that exam for maybe 3 weeks. You're doing your part and you move on. So that means you go to 10 or 15 different places every year, or you work on 10 or 15 different things every year. And that's a lot of variety. You're never going to be sitting in a cubicle working on the same project. I mean, just in the 3 weeks I've been in my new role, I have done research on banks in the South Pacific. I've helped out on a international project. I'm working on a training program that's going to be used all over the country. That's just in my first 3 weeks, just people throwing stuff at me. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. I'll start working on that. So FDIC, that change of pace is constant, even in your first 3 years, because you're going to be working on so many different things. So any other questions? So Ashlee, if you are comfortable, like I said, I've had officers send me everybody's email and I can get you on here. We have a current posting that's open. It's going to be closing at the end of this month. So if you are a graduating senior or you're graduating before December 31st, you would be eligible to apply for that. We don't have any internships open right now, but if you're an underclassman and you want to get those opportunities, they are paid internships. They're the equivalent of about $40,000 a year. Plus we give you a $2,500 bonus. And there's a good chance you're probably gonna be working from home. So, but even if you're not, it's a great opportunity to spend your summer somewhere, to see a different part of the country and to get paid to do it and really get your foot in the door with the FDIC. So if you're an underclassman or you're a graduating senior, you can either email me your resume or send it to Ashlee, and Ashlee, you can just send me a list of everybody's contact information. I don't keep it. I just put you in my mailing list, and then you'll get emails from me until you graduate. And I know that you absolutely do not want to hear from me anymore, but I will keep in touch with all of you. And I had a lady who I talked to 3 weeks ago. She had an interview this week and she has an interview next week. So she called me and we talked about the interview process and get her ready for that. So I'm always willing to help you all be successful and make sure your application is done right. And if you need help with the interview process, I'll help you with that as well. So I'm here as kind of your all's corporate advisor to help you find a job and be successful.
Yeah, I'm sure several of our members would appreciate being a part of that email list, because I know previously, like you mentioned, a lot of Marshall students have gravitated toward the FDIC and the opportunities that you guys provide.
Yeah, you all have one professor over there that gives great recommendations for FDIC people. He has a whole list of everybody that he's taught that has worked with the FDIC. So he keeps a whole list of everybody and really pushes people there. So, all right. Well, thank you all very much. I appreciate the opportunity to come in whenever you all would like me to talk about something.
All right. Well, thank you. We really appreciate you taking some time out of your evening to speak with us.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you all. Take care.
Thank you.